everyone. I'm Barry Shrier from Giant Health, and I'm happy to introduce you to this episode of Giant Health's Healthcare Conversations. So what we're doing is we're having what we call Giant Health Conversations with leaders in the UK health sector, all revolving around the crucial themes in healthcare, public health, and how to improve outcomes of healthcare delivery by way of adopting new innovations and new technologies. Once again, my name is Barry Shrier. These events are sponsored by Giant Health. We invite you to come to our website, www.giant.health. And if you're in England, we invite you to come to the Giant Health event, which this year is on the 9th and 10th of December in central London. So one of the themes we're talking about is a very important theme in how tech is developed and then implemented in healthcare. And that's revolving around the design of tech and who contributes to the design of technology as it is developed and implemented in healthcare systems. So a very important theme that we want to develop is how can listening to communities help us design tech for better care? So the background relating to this theme is that all major NHS strategy emphasizes embedding more services within local communities and working across a range of stakeholder groups to achieve this. But when designing or redesigning local services in response, what does genuine co-design look like? How can the community play a more active role in design? And what would communities want to see? These questions, the Health Foundation has been focusing on through funding proactive and preventative, community-oriented tech initiatives. So I'm extremely happy and proud to introduce you to our guest speaker today, Jenna Collins. Jenna leads this work for the Health Foundation, also known as THF, and she's joined by leads from these initiatives to share their lessons and insights into the reality of listening and design. So Jenna, it's really good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to talk about these important issues. So thanks so much for having me.
Excellent. Well, we're very, very happy to have you on board, and we appreciate your time. And it's an honor for us to have somebody in your leadership position regarding this important theme. So obviously, we understand that you're going to be leading a panel discussion at the Giant Health event in December. But we actually wanted to talk less about the panel discussion per se and the Giant Health event. We want to talk more about this core theme. How can listening to communities help us design tech for better care? So, I mean, that's a fascinating subject. And of course, it's quite a, if you will, arguably rich and slightly complicated concept to be the title of a panel discussion. Why is this an important discussion to be having now?
It's a really good question, and it's such a big question as well. So I'll try and whittle it down to a few key points. I think firstly, kind of looking at the bigger picture, we know from national data and Health Foundation data that the kind of care issues and problems and conditions that people are going to be facing are the kinds of health problems that do require more care at home and care in the community, and more collaboration between different parts of our health and care system. So as we're seeing kind of how care needs can be met shifting into homes and communities, of course, by nature, we should be having those conversations with those communities. So it's almost like there's this shift anyway, and we need to be really cognizant of that. And that's kind of really driving, I think, some of this type of work around really working closely with communities because of that shifting kind of nature of care. I think more fundamentally, there's evidence that already exists on the importance of co-design and implementation, but I think there's just something really interesting around technology, the opportunity of technology. We know that the healthcare system in the UK, that technology is going to be a big part of the answer when it comes to having a sustainable health and care system. Technology is going to be so key to that. But to do that, we need to have good implementation, a good implementation of anything, whether it's kind of quality improvement, whether it's technology, requires that co-design and that implementation alongside communities, mainly because you need buy-in. It's crucial to sustainability. But I think what we're really finding is that it's really about enhancing quality at the end of the day.
Yes.
So through working with communities, we've definitely seen on the Health Foundation's Tech for Better Care programme, the independent evaluations and the emerging findings there showing that the quality of the interventions are better because you've had those conversations with communities, because you're really challenging assumptions and you're avoiding unintended consequences. And this can happen with whatever the innovation or improvement that you're trying to implement, but even more so with technology as well.
That's a very good point. I guess there are these issues of the quality, the accuracy, so to speak, of understanding the community and patients' needs. But one could argue, just for the sake of the discussion, what if we don't listen to the communities? Just for the sake of this discussion, what are the potential risks of not listening to communities in this conversation of, how are we going to get better care through technology? Why can't the techies just get on with it, create the technology, give it to the clinicians, and why can't the clinicians just get on with it?
That's a good provocation, and I think that feels quite risky for a number of reasons, although we are seeing it. I think there's something about really getting the value of not just the technology, but how it is used.
Yes.
And there are going to be ways in which communities use technology, ways in which perhaps we haven't even thought of before, that are definitely worth being explored and co-designed with them. I think through some of the Health Foundation's polling that we've done about public attitudes to tech, there's a big question about buy-in and how the public feels about technology. And we know that there are issues around privacy, invasion, and what you don't want to happen if you're designing technology to fit around and within communities, that you then people actively avoiding these technologies and they don't want to use them.
Sure.
And the other element I'd probably add in there is that it's not just about patients when you're talking to communities, it's about the support network that might sit around people who are using technology to support their health and care. It's about potentially healthcare professionals and staff, formal, informal, paid, unpaid, that are using these technologies to deliver a package of care and help people to live happier and more independent lives. And if they're not bought into the technology and the way that you're using the technology, then the chances of success are potentially at risk.
No, that's very helpful, and it makes a lot of sense. On that note, what trends do we see? I mean, one could argue that there has been an issue, there's been a problem, to be direct about it, over the past, 50 years, regarding how adequate has listening to communities been. There's a positive direction to go here. So what key trends or what factors do you see shaping this focus on community-centered approaches?
There's a really good, and I think it's a really big question. As mentioned, I think there's something quite unique about how we do this work with care in the community that's not necessarily a cut and paste model from what might have worked in hospitals or secondary care or acute care, where you're dealing with different systems. You're not necessarily in people's homes and meeting them where they're at. We know demographically that we have a very diverse population, and we need to kind of question our assumptions always about, are we kind of getting not just the quantity of listening to communities, but the quality? Are we actually getting the voices that we need? And are there unintended consequences of really not kind of getting that breadth and depth of community conversations going? I think as well, this is my personal opinion, that perhaps we underestimate the ability of communities to engage and embrace a conversation about technology. I think definitely on the Tech for Better Care programme, we've seen particularly patients really kind of be excited about the use of technology. So again, it should be something that we can really build on strengths and excitement around the potential for change.
Brilliant.
Patients definitely see the negative effects of technologies not working well for them, and they want to make it better because it benefits them and it benefits everyone.
Jenna, that's extremely interesting. I'm going to interrupt you because I want to ask you to say that again, because it's such a good point. And whether you say it again verbatim or rephrase it, it doesn't matter. It's a great point, which we probably would want to hang our hat on. So the point you made was about underestimating the value of communities, or the knowledge, or the capability, or the quality of the input, or the value of the information you get from communities. So I'm just going to ask that question again, because I think that is a golden nugget we might want to emphasize. So Jenna, just for the sake of the argument, arguably there's room to improve. Maybe in the past 50 years, we don't have a reputation of perfectly listening to communities and so forth and so on. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with just not listening to communities? Why can't techies just get on with it? Techies make their tech, techies give it to clinicians, and clinicians get on with the application of the tech to deliver healthcare.
Great, thank you. So now you asked me to say it again, I'm going to completely forget what I've said before, but give me a moment and then
So is there an issue regarding communities in terms of what is the value that communities give? Are they valuable at all? What's wrong with techies just doing their tech, and doctors taking the tech and applying it to deliver medicine? Doesn't everyone recognize that communities are outside of that area of expertise?
So as mentioned, I think because of this shift into community, it requires a different kind of healthcare solution. It requires a different kind of approach. It's not just about a copy and paste model, from what previously might have worked in a hospital, where you've got different systems and different ways of working. So that's definitely one trend and one risk that we need to be really cognizant of. But also we shouldn't underestimate the willingness and the insights that communities can provide in these conversations. They're the ones that have the potential to benefit from technology. Communities also get frustrated by bad technology, and what we've definitely seen on the Tech for Better Care program is a real enthusiasm for communities to be part of that conversation and to help shape it for better. So it works for them and it works for healthcare professionals as well. So we shouldn't underestimate the enthusiasm for communities to be part of this conversation, but we should equally be very open as a healthcare system to hearing what they have to say and acting on it. I think that's the key thing here. Quite often we see kind of feedback from communities, but it's to the value of the thing that we're trying to do and the change that we're trying to enable, and how we use those insights is really important.
Brilliant. No, that makes an awful lot of sense. On that note, this theme of the communities and engaging with them successfully, and if you will, moving healthcare to be as local as possible. What are some common misconceptions about this topic? What do you come across as you guys are trying successfully to roll out these listening to communities and adopting and implementing and, if you will, improving the direction that tech innovation and the delivery of healthcare are going? What misconceptions do you guys find about the value of communities, or about what communities have to give here?
Would you mind, Barry, just repeating that first bit of the question? I think it was about misconceptions. Is that right?
Yeah. So the core of the question is, what misconceptions do you come across in your work revolving around this theme of engaging with communities?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure if it's a misconception, but this work is difficult, it is hard, and we've definitely seen teams, health foundation teams, even with the kind of support and the resource to do this work, you're still trying to work with people and communities that can be very vulnerable, where their voices are so important. But the reality of doing this work is just difficult, and it takes time. So I think that's definitely been a realization. But that being said, we've also seen some really innovative and imaginative ways that teams have overcome this to engage with communities. And it's not necessarily about fitting communities into what the healthcare system wants, but actually where are communities having these conversations, and the health foundation, the health system can go to them and have those meaningful conversations. So I think the how to do this work and the how to do this work well, again, that's skills and capabilities that we probably need to see a lot more of in the healthcare system.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you feel? You're leading the panel discussion at the Giant Health event in December, and we are very much looking forward to that, and delighted that you've accepted our invitation. What would you think the audience would be looking for, or how do you feel it's important? What do you want to be saying to the audience as priority messages? If they're saying, well, you know, this is a new subject for me, in the year 2025, what do I need to be, how do I need to change my direction? Whether it's a doctor, whether it's a business creating tech, whether it's a hospital management, NHS strategic management.
Good question. I'm really hoping the audience will leave with some really practical kind of insights from teams that have done this, that are working across partners, teams that are really early on in their innovation journey, that are coming up with some pretty transformational ideas and ways to transform care, and how that's been informed by communities, and how that's really added value. But I also think there's something perhaps bigger here, which I don't think will be unfamiliar to people working in the healthcare system, that this kind of work can feel like a nice to have and a bit of a tick box exercise. We really need to be moving beyond that, especially if we're going to be seeing more care in the community, especially if we're going to really embrace technology. We know that technology in other industries has a really powerful and quite regular kind of feedback loop between its users and product. Product development is continuous, and we need to see more of that agile way of working in the healthcare system. So I'm really hoping that we can have a really grounded and a really honest conversation at the conference, and we can really get people thinking about how actually, if we want technology to boost innovation and really improve how care is delivered, then this is part of that process. And what is it about, whether that's ICBs, ICSs, other people in the system, what can they be doing to really help make this happen? Because the risks are pretty massive if we don't get it right.
Nice. Okay, no, that makes absolutely perfect sense. We certainly agree with you. And so who are the priority audiences? Who should come and who would benefit from this? Who can change things?
Yeah, good question. I think the examples, I'm hoping the examples and the stories we can bring will be of interest to a broad audience. Whether you already have experience of doing this kind of work, that's great. I mean, I'll be honest, there are going to be other examples and people out there that have been doing this stuff for many, many, many years. And so we're actually just really building on the wealth of evidence and experience that already exists. So very open to learning and to giving people to share that learning. But I think for those who are really thinking about technology and how it can be implemented well, and its use around care in the community and its potential, then I think they're the people that I think would really benefit from hearing not the Health Foundation story, but the story of the teams that will be with us on the day.
Could you be a little more specific? Are these people from ICBs? Are these people from the Department of Health? Are these management consultants,
Sure.
nurses?
Yeah, sure. It'd be really great to see represent people from other healthcare providers who are potentially looking to do this type of innovative work around technology, to hear from our teams who are doing it in practice. It would be great to see people from ICBs and ICSs, and perhaps we can together explore the role that they might have in helping to set the conditions and the expectations for listening to communities. For those who work in the more policy making space, I think there's a lot that can be done to really support and set expectations around community engagement, and how that can support successful tech innovation. So yeah, I think those people would be great.
Excellent. Hey, well, look, we've run out of time, I'm sorry to say, because I'd love to continue this conversation for about another 2 hours. It's so important. You have so many good things to say. But just for the sake of the recording and any possible addition to films that get produced, if I can ask you to give us your name and your job title and the name of your organization.
Sure. So my name is Jenna Collins. I'm a program manager at the Health Foundation.
And what does the Health Foundation do?
The Health Foundation is an independent foundation that supports to improve the health and healthcare of people in the UK.
Excellent. And what are examples of what the Health Foundation does?
Sure. So the Health Foundation does this in a number of ways. We do this through supporting the radical innovation and improvement of health and care services. We want to support a strong policy ecosystem and support good policy making that's robust and driven by evidence. And we also work towards reducing health inequalities.
Perfect. Absolutely superb. Look, Jenna, this has been absolutely brilliant. Such incredibly valuable and important information. And like I said, our aim is for the giant health event, the work that we're doing in the run up to the event, your involvement in the event itself, and all of the content we create and the follow-up afterward. It's absolutely our aim for this to be as useful for you personally and as valuable for Health Foundation as possible. So very keen on an ongoing basis, Aruj will be liaising with you on this to make sure that we are a helpful platform for you and that you can build things on top of what we're doing, which helps you reach your goals, your aims, and champions the Health Foundation in every way.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been really great to chat.